Access control is another control that is used to help organizations protect their data from unauthorized activities. Three standard methods in applying access control, which we further explain in a moment, are mandatory access control, role-based access control, and discretionary access control. Mandatory access control, or MAC for short, is the method used by the U.S. government, as a strong data classification program is in place to enable this access control method. In our example on the left, you can see a user that has a secret level clearance can access secret and unclassified documents with their access level, but cannot access top secret documents. This is the core concept behind the MAC access method, and as its name implies, it's mandatory, not discretionary. So the user cannot find another way to access that top secret document without the right level of clearance. A big plus with this method is that it provides consistency on access for users. Some of the other access methods that we'll talk about are definitely inferior from this perspective, but it can also be very difficult to implement and maintain this access control method for your organization without the proper resources and automation in place. There is a tremendous amount of effort made and resources invested in this access control method by the US government, but most organizations cannot afford to take this same approach, and honestly, it isn't the best fit for most organizations either. The next access method that we'll discuss is role-based access control, or RBAC for short. In our example on the left, you can see three users who are provided access based off of their roles. There aren't classification levels used here like in MAC, but instead the organization has created some standardized roles for their users based off of the function that they provide to the organization, which allows them to align the users with access to standard resources that they'll need for their role. One benefit of RBAC is that roles can be a superset or subset of other roles. So in our example, the business director not only has access to business line A, but also business line B, as access to both lines of business is part of that user's role. In a similar example, the IT admin can access IT resources, but not business line B resources, as that is not part of their role and they do not need access. Having defined roles is key to the success of RBAC access control methods. But the benefits around consistency of access, especially when onboarding new members to the organization, typically outweigh the cost of the effort. RBAC also enable organizations to successfully implement additional automation around their users' identity and access within the organization. The last access control method we'll talk about is discretionary access control, or DAC for short. In our example on the left, you'll see two users and an owner of a resource that the users want access to. User A requests access, and the resource owner decides to provide the access requested. User B requests the same access and is rejected by the resource owner. This is an example of the real drawback of DAC in an organization, as the resource owner typically has complete discretion on providing access if they choose or choose not to. As an organization scales and users require more and more resources to perform their roles' functions, having to manage all of their access in this method gets very difficult to ensure that all users that need access to a resource have it, as well as the significant time it takes to onboard new users of the organization with the DAC method. But the one positive of DAC is that it is much faster to implement than the other two access control methods.